You are about to watch one of the most uncomfortable, mask-slipping interviews in recent political history. What happens when an establishment politician gets completely cornered on national television? You're about to find out. We are breaking down the heated showdown where Tucker Carlson grills Senator Ted Cruz on foreign lobbying double standards, specifically asking why organizations like AIPAC don't have to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Instead of answering the question, Ted Cruz completely panics and pulls out the lowest trick in the Washington playbook, a desperate, personal smear. But Tucker doesn't back down for a second, exposing a massive hypocrisy in the America First movement. It is wild, it is tense, and we are diving straight into it. But before we roll the tape, do me a quick favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss a breakdown like this, and drop a comment below letting me know exactly where you are watching from today. I want to see how far this community reaches. All right, let's get into it.
I'm only trying to get to the question of what AIPAC is, and I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC is lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
Of course, I coordinate. They talk with them. I don't know what they do. I can tell you.
But why don't you care? Isn't it meaningful if a foreign government...
Hey, I talk with Israel all the time. I talk with foreign countries all the time.
But the law is, and a lot of people have been prosecuted under this law, that if you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm working for Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium, and I'm working on behalf of its government's interests through a group of Americans who are representing the friendship between those two nations, I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and if I don't, I can go to jail. And people have gone to jail, including people I know. So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, they're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government?
Do you know how AIPAC raises money?
What?
For elected officials, like what they do, like what the actual mechanics is?
I mean, they go to people who are sympathetic to Israel and raise money and then send it to candidates who agree with them.
So what they'll do is, in my last election, AIPAC endorsed me. And they'll host a fundraiser. And they'll host a fundraiser in Dallas or Houston or Atlanta or New York or LA. And they'll do a fundraiser and they'll get someone who will host it. And it's usually a business owner, lawyer, doctor, someone who hosts it. And you'll get typically at an AIPAC fundraiser, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people who live in that city,
right?
Who care about a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Yeah. And if they have, 50 people, each of them writes a $1,000 check, and you raise $50,000.
Yeah, I've been to an AIPAC fundraiser. Okay. I know what it looks like.
But that is not, and by the way, there's no representative of the Israeli government there. You have, when you're in Dallas, you're meeting with...
This is such a false and silly conversation. I know all this. The question is are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government to any extent?
Okay, that's
a really
different
simple
from
question.
Lobbying on behalf of.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you that question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Okay, are they shaped by? Are
they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking with them? Yes.
Is
Israel directing them? You want to talk about FARA? The law on lobbying on behalf of someone.
Yeah.
It is, I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they are not lobbying on behalf of them. Do they care about them? Yes, but...
Do you think that, it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody, I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel, when we're talking about foreign countries...
It's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now.
Senator, you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. I have there's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the Ayatollah.
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions in a straightforward, rational way? You certainly have the IQ to do it.
So shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
It is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
you just called me a sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government is run.
You want to count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about AIPAC?
I never asked about the Jews. This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two. They have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking about the influence of
Israel and Jews have nothing to do with each other?
All Jews, or an attack on all Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaking now. I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay? But now, because
except you don't want to do anything about it,
decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment on foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us, but it doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what, and I'll answer any question you like, but let's try to...
Are you going to call me an anti-Semite again or no?
Tucker starts the segment by bringing up FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Now, for those who don't know, FARA is a massive deal. It's a law designed to ensure that if you are working inside the United States to shape American policy or public opinion on behalf of a foreign government, you have to register with the Department of Justice. If you lobby for Qatar and don't register, you can go to federal prison. If you lobby for Ukraine, Taiwan, or South Korea without disclosing it, you face criminal charges. So, Tucker poses an entirely fair question. Why does AIPAC get a complete pass? AIPAC openly and effectively lobbies the United States government to advance policies that directly benefit the state of Israel. Tucker's point isn't even that lobbying itself should be illegal. His point is about the double standard. Why is one specific country's lobbying apparatus exempt from the rigid transparency laws that apply to every other nation on the face of the earth? Watch how Ted Cruz handles this. He immediately realizes he's in a logical corner, so he tries to change the subject by explaining the mechanics of fundraising. He starts talking about how AIPAC is just made up of local doctors, local business owners, and regular citizens meeting up for lunch in Dallas or Houston. It's a classic political sleight of hand. Cruz tries to frame it as a grassroots, strictly American citizen movement. But Tucker doesn't take the bait. He cuts right through the noise. Tucker basically says, I don't care about the local doctors in Dallas. I'm asking about the organization's directives. Are their policy goals aligned with and shaped by a foreign government? When you strip away the local fundraising lunches, the core function of the organization is to direct American tax dollars, weapons, and military commitments toward a foreign nation. Cruz knows this, but he can't admit it on camera without exposing the very system that funds his campaigns. And this is where the interview gets truly ugly. When a Washington insider realizes they cannot win an argument on the merits, they pull the emergency brake. They resort to the ultimate defense mechanism, the personal smear. Cruz looks at Tucker and says, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy? That's what you just asked. Host note, think about how insidious that is. Tucker asked a specific question about a political lobbying organization and federal disclosure laws. Cruz deliberately reframed it as an attack on an entire group of people based on their faith and heritage. It was a desperate attempt to completely radioactive the conversation. If Cruz can make the audience think Tucker is being hateful, then Cruz doesn't have to explain why he votes the way he votes. It's identity politics used as a shield to protect the military-industrial complex and foreign interventionism. Tucker's reaction was perfect. He called it what it was: feline. It was weak, it was dishonest, and it was deeply unworthy of a U.S. Senator. Tucker flatly rejected it, forcing the conversation right back to the actual policy. But here is the absolute climax of the clip, the part that should bother every single American voter, regardless of your political party. Just minutes before this blow-up, Ted Cruz was bragging about how, from the very moment he entered Congress, one of his absolute top priorities was to defend the national security interests of Israel. At the same time, Cruz travels the country, puts on a plaid shirt, speaks at rallies, and claims to be an unyielding champion of the America First populist movement. Tucker exposes the glaring, irreconcilable contradiction here. How can you claim your ideology is America First if your primary legislative directive is defending a completely different nation? How can you represent the taxpayers of Texas when your foreign policy mandates are heavily dictated by the needs of a government thousands of miles away? Why are American politicians expected to show a bizarre, mandatory allegiance to a foreign state just to remain viable in Washington? When the U.S. is continuously dealing with massive domestic issues, inflation, a border crisis, a failing infrastructure, and simultaneously being dragged closer to a potential catastrophic war with Iran, asking who is driving our foreign policy isn't just appropriate. It is an absolute necessity. What Ted Cruz showed us is that for a lot of these guys, America First is just a slogan printed on a bumper sticker to get your vote. But when they get behind closed doors in Washington, the priorities shift to whoever is cutting the biggest checks. Tucker Carlson did his job. He didn't let the politicians stick to the script, he didn't back down when the cheap slurs started flying, and he showed the world exactly how terrified the Washington establishment is of transparency.